Welcome to yet another session of Dr. Spotfire. I am Dr. Vishakha Muju, and I have my colleague Dr. Divya Jyoti Rajdev with me. And we will be starting with our questions. Learning is not driven by answers, but by questions. And today we have with us our featured guest speaker also, Pavan Lingam with us. This is the whole crew, Vishakha, DJ, Minerva, and Alexis. So we have our featured speaker, Pavan, who is Manager Spotfire Support. He has been part of the TIBCO arena for the last 7 years. He has a computer science degree along with being a mathematician. His previous experience is with Dell, HP, SAP, Adobe, PMC, before we kind of got him into TIBCO software. He leads a team of a very talented Spotfire support resources in North America, and their focus is on customer satisfaction. Now, adding to it, I would say he has been very instrumental in kind of making our support team really successful and having them go beyond what is expected of a normal support group. He is the one behind the scenes, so he will be presenting today's a session on introduction to Spotfire support, how people can kind of log tickets, log cases, and what are the various things which will make it possible to kind of have a lesser support turnaround. So let me make him the presenter.
All right, I got the request. Good morning, everyone. This is Pavan, and thank you for such a good introduction, Vishakha. Let me know if you guys see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, all right, thanks, Vishakha. When support comes into picture, whenever any of you have issues with Spotfire out-of-the-box features, one of the easiest method to reach out to support is by logging onto support portal, which is support.tibco.com. So when you log into the portal for the first time, this is how the interface looks. If you haven't registered for a support portal access, you can see a small register icon here. If you click on this, it'll ask you a couple of questions on who is your company's Spotfire administrators, if you know who is your Spotfire account manager, and some other additional questions. So you see there is a button here to register to create cases. So if you click on this guy, and there is a form that you need to fill in with all the information that you can provide to support. And once you submit this application, our TAG team will validate the maintenance levels, and then they will create and activate an account for you. So you typically get an activation email from our TAG team. Typically it comes from TIBCO support, our accounts at tibco.com. So once you activate your account, you can actually log into support portal and create cases, review any KB articles, download hotfixes. So let me show you how it looks once you log in. So this is my login. This is a support portal I see. So this is the home page where you can see quite a few widgets, new notifications. This is very important. If we from support post any kind of notifications, you'll be able to see them here. For example, there is a change to the weekend phone system. There is a network upgrade for EMEA and silver and gold numbers. So if you click on this, you can see what the notification is all about. And if you're new to TIBCO support portal, we do have a video introduction. So if you click on this guy, there is a YouTube video that explains most of the support portal features in detail. So when you guys get a chance, take a look at this video. The other widgets, these two are related to the popular, HBase knowledge base articles, and anything that is useful, based on your subscriptions. You can see those links here. And based on your product interest and subscriptions, I'll show you guys in a minute what that is. You can see if there are any recent hot fixes that are released for that specific product. And if you have created any cases with support, you can see them under My Cases. There is a shortcut here to create a new case. So before I move on to one of the most important features, that is cases, I would like to show you guys another important feature in the portal, which is your profile. For example, if you go to your, just hover over your username and click on My Profile, you can see your contact information. The reason why I say this is important is because when anybody creates a case with support, we want to find out where the user is located. One way to find out is based on the contact number that we have and the time zone that is set. Having this information available to support really reduces the time that we need to find out where the user is located. We have support teams across the globe, and it will be very beneficial for support teams to find out where you're located so that we can actually have somebody closer to your time zone to work with you. You can just click on Edit and provide your contact number, mobile number, as well as the time zone. Time zone also matters because, for example, I have my office number in 650. Right now I'm in Phoenix, so I kind of set my time zone as Mountain Standard Time Zone. So it helps the support team and support engineer who is working on your case to understand where you are, where you are located. A couple of other important aspects on the profile is product interest and knowledge-based subscriptions. So I'm going to click on this guy. If you're working on Spotfire, you can set what all notifications you would like from TIBCO support. For example, this will list out all the products, that are there. One small disclaimer is you may or may not see all the options that I'm displaying here. I logged in with an employee account, so I may see more information than what you see. So if you scroll down here, so this is TIBCO Spotfire. For example, I want to get notified for any KB article that is published for, say, TIBCO Spotfire Desktop and TIBCO Spotfire Developer. So you can choose any of the available products here. Scroll all the way down, and you can see various options here. One is an article, one is a release announcement, one is a retirement notice, security announcements, and product interest. So this is the one we saw as useful links earlier in the home page. So you can, if you want to get notified whenever there is an article that is released for the TIBCO Spotfire server, you can enable this. Or, if you don't want to get notified for every release announcement, you can just, uncheck this guy, click on Save Interest. So anytime there is an article that is published that falls into any of these categories, you will get an email notification for that. And other important thing is environment profiles. So this is very important when you work on cases. So let me click on this guy. So, most of our customers have more than one environment, a prod, a production environment, UAT, or a test environment. So creating, an environment-specific profile will definitely, actually, it will speed up the case creation process. It will also help the support team to understand what kind of platform you're working on, what kind of operating system you're using. When we work on, Spotfire-specific cases, environment plays an important role. So understanding what environment you are hosting your Spotfire is very crucial for us. So you can create, you can select it, just a test environment profile. And you can select whatever product you need. I'm going to select a Spotfire server. And you can select the version. So I'm going to select, say, 7.7 and say, I'll say this as a production. You can say hardware as Windows 64-bit, and you can select the operating system as a Windows Server. And I'm going to select VMware. So I'll show you how this comes in handy when you create cases. So this is created. So I'm going to click on Save again. And so let's go to cases. So when you open cases, this is how it looks. So you have various options here. For example, you can click on all open cases. Any active cases that you're working with, the support team recently viewed. You can, these are the different filters that makes life easy when you're browsing to the support portal. So what I'll do is I'll probably create a new case. Okay, let me click on create new case. So this is the case creation.
So while you're creating the case, we have a question because it's related to it. There's a question that is there a way to change the severity of case?
Yeah, I mean, you can set the priority for a case. I'll show you how to do that. If you're working on a high severity situation, for example, if the production is down, if none of your users can log into Spotfire web player, you can mark the priority of the case as high or urgent. When you do that, for example, for any case that is high priority or urgent priority, we would need you to provide the business impact. For example, this is how it looks like, right? An urgent priority case. When creating a case with urgent priority, provide the business impact, but we also recommend you to call up our TAC team so that they can alert the support management to increase the severity. So one way you can set the priority of the case, but severity is mostly controlled by the support teams. But based on the severity of the case, you can set any of these high priority and urgent priority. As I said, for any severe cases, production down issues, you can set the priority as urgent. Give us the business impact, for example, how many users are impacted, what is a business impact, and then call up our TAC team. You can actually look up the TAC contact number and a contact us here. I'll show you guys how to do that. But we do recommend following up by calling the TAC team after you create a case with urgent priority. Does that help, Vishaka?
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So since because I logged in with an employee account. Yep.
There's another question asking how to populate the product dropdown for the environment profile.
It comes by default. So there is nothing you need to do, to populate the product areas there. So whatever your organization has maintenance levels for example, if you have maintenance agreement for Spotfire and say BW, you typically see those products as a part of the dropdown.
To add to that, I also want to say that in the UI, you should have an option to save your current profile as default, and then next time when you're creating a ticket for the same product or environment, you will have the option to use your saved profile in order to auto-complete the form. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I don't think we have that option, but it's a pretty easy method to set the environment profile. So I'll show you how that works. Right. So I don't think any of you guys can see this one, the customer account, because I logged in with the TIPCO account. I see this. I mean, this is typically used by by TIPCO employees if they're logging a case on behalf of somebody else. So what I'll do is I'll just say internal use for now, and I'm going to select TIPCO Spotfire server. Right, in case, while creating a case, if you cannot find your product in the drop-down list box, you can check this one. This will actually populate all the TIPCO products. You can select the product that is from the drop-down list. But what happens is when you select this checkbox and select a product, the case, our TAC team will actually validate whether you have a valid maintenance for the product, and then assign that case to the product teams. So I selected TIPCO Spotfire server, and if I click on this drop down for the environment profile, so I can see various environment profiles that I saved, and this is the one I recently saved, right? And we have an option which says, use the answers from my last case. When I created a test case earlier with U87.6 environment profile. So you have an option to select whatever profile you choose to. So I'm going to select test environment profile. And you see the product version is auto-populated here. The environment type was selected to production, hardware, operating system, and the virtualized platform. So whatever we have set for the environment profile will be auto-populated here. The other important thing here, in this is, we would require or we would recommend the customers or users to create or, give us as much information as you can in the subject and description, because that will really help us to understand who in our team can handle the case. Spotfire is an enormous product with different features. We do have experts in different feature sets of the case. So providing information, the right information in the case will really help us to identify who from our team can work on those cases. So what I'll do is I'll add a subject and just keep an eye on the gray area on the right side. Let me type in something. Let's see. Timeout while waiting for database connection. Say after 10 seconds. I'm going to click on description. And you see, on the right side, there is a list that is populated. I mean, this is one of the most famous, errors or warnings we see in Spotfire, the timeout, database timeout, right? So I just added the error that we see in the logs or in the UI. And what we display here is, all the related content that has the information about the specific error. I mean, this is especially useful, to look at the, this will display all the articles. For example, the all content displays the entire information. Articles are specific to knowledge base articles. If that error is a part of any of the documentation, you can see that in docs. If somebody has posted that information in community, if there's a community wiki articles, if some other users have asked a similar question, you can see that as a part of the community. So let me click on this guy. So there is a wiki article in our community, explaining what the error means and the way that you can, resolve that specific issue, right? I mean, providing, and as I said, providing the subject as well as, providing the description, right description, can really help you to understand what the issue is, and it displays if we have seen any such cases earlier. If we have any KB articles, I mean, you don't even probably need to come to support. We can look at the KB article and perhaps use the information of the KB article to resolve the issue by users. Right, I'm just going to copy and paste the same thing here. I'm doing it for now, but we recommend you guys to provide as much information as you can. A couple of things that we need is, explain the use case, explain, where you see this behavior, what has been done, so far to resolve the issue. So that kind of, helps us to speed up the process. Other thing that I would want to show you guys is, we would need to find out what exactly is, what patch level you guys are at. When you're reporting any case or any issue related to Spotfire client features, we recommend you to, give us the exact use case, elaborate in a step-by-step procedure. And, if you can, provide us a sample analysis file with embedded data. I mean, the data should be, not sensitive data. And also, if you're seeing, for example, if you see any issues with, using some of the features, like loading a database table fails in Spotfire client, and you are going to report that, to Spotfire support. So we need you to provide information like, for example, this is, I'm just showing the Spotfire client. But if you go to help and support diagnostics and logging, so if you click on copy info, this actually copies the entire info to clipboard. You can paste it in Notepad. This actually captures the diagnostic information, which is very crucial for us to understand what patch level you are at. This is one step. The second aspect or important aspect is if you go to logging, right, there are different log levels that you can set. I mean, anything that doesn't work as the way it's supposed to work, we would require you guys to, capture the debug logs. So you can change the log level here. By default, it should be none. When you see an issue, that is when we recommend you guys to enable debug logging. But enable the debug logging, click on OK, replicate the behavior, and send us the log file. You can find out the log file from here. If you go to support diagnostics and logging again, and go to logging, click on open folder. This is where the log file resides. So, providing us this information, when you create the case will really help us to speed up the troubleshooting. When this is for client-specific issues, and when you are reporting anything that is related to server, whether it's Spotfire server or web player or automation services, the same rule applies here as well. If you go to admin UI, so this is the UI from 7.5 and the later versions. The way you can enable debug logging is, and you need to have admin rights to do this. So if you go to monitoring and diagnostics in the admin UI, select the Spotfire server if you're reporting an issue on Spotfire server. Set the log configuration to whatever is recommended. And typically we start with the debug. If we need more detailed information, we recommend to enable the trace logging. But debug, will be really helpful to start with. You can click on, set the log configuration to debug, replicate the issue, and you can actually, select the server and download the troubleshooting bundle. The same is the case with if you see any issues with web player or automation services, you can do the same thing for nodes. Set the log configuration, replicate the issue, download the troubleshooting bundle, and update that to the support case. Most of the times, I've been with Spotfire support from 7+ years. Most of the time that we spend is in back and forth communication, asking for log files. So providing that information upfront will really help us to speed up the troubleshooting process. All right, so once you create, provide the description and all, you can set the priority. As I said, by default, you can set the normal priority. If it is urgent, select high or urgent, provided you give us the business impact. And for any urgent priority cases, please follow up by calling our tag team, and they can alert the support management. If you need to add anybody in the email CSA list, you can add them, in here using a comma-separated list. There is another option which says, continue with case creation. The reason why we have this is because we want to see if any of the articles that are displayed here are useful for you to resolve the issue. If it is, you can click on cancel and use the KB article. But if that is not helpful, or if you need more help from support team, you can click on continue with case creation, and that will create a case with the support portal. And you do get a notification email once the case is created. So I'm going to cancel this guy. I have a case that I created earlier, so let me show you that case.
So another question we have is, if I have a closed case, can I reopen it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can reopen a case up the 6 months. But one recommendation that we have is, you can reopen the case only if the follow-up question is a relevant question to the issue that you reported. As a support policy, we do accept one case per a question or an issue. So when we do get, at least 6 or 7 questions combined in one case, having that in individual cases really helps us to, track and manage the issues effectively. And if you're looking at individual cases, that also helps us to manage the KB content, right? When you can even search for your own cases, if you see the same behavior, probably a year later in a different version, having 6 issues combined in one will not make much sense. Having individual cases can really help. Yeah. To answer that question, yes, you can reopen the case, provided the follow-up question you have is relevant to the same issue that you reported earlier. And if not, typically the support team will recommend you to create a new case, with the new issue. Right. So this is the case that I created earlier. So I'm just going to open. I'll show you, how the case communication looks like. Right. So this is the case number, whatever is the status here. So I'm the primary contact. And another thing is you can see who in the support team is working with you. since I created the case, I actually picked it up so that I can show in this presentation. But this is typically the case owner, whoever is a support team member working on your case. You see their name here. You can see the severity of the case. You can see the subject description, whatever environment information you have given here. The way to communicate with support is through case comments. So if you see, as a customer, I sent a note to the support team saying, hello, can you help me with the Dr. Spotfire question? And that actually, whoever is a case owner in support team, they get an email notification, and we do have internal portal. And this is the update I, as a support engineer, sent to the case. So can you please provide us the logs and the steps to replicate the Spotfire issue? And if you need to communicate with the support team, you can click on, add a case comment. There is a 3,900 character limit for any case updates. If you need to provide a lengthy update to support, what we recommend is perhaps add that as a part of a Word document or a notepad or a text file, and then add as an attachment to the case. So you can add attachments here. We get, I think, a couple of times I talk to customers, there is a confusion. So if you type in something here as a case comment, so please find the logs. And without submitting the case comment, if you go to attachments, you lose your comment. So the recommended approach would be to, once you add a comment, submit the case comment. And if you need to add any attachments, click on attachments here, and then attach any of the files that you think are useful for the support team. Quick note here, there is no size limit for the attachments that you can upload to support portal. And we do get attachments which are probably 15, 20 gigs. It may take time for you guys to upload, but there is no size limit for attachments here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for cases. The other important aspect in the support portal is the knowledge base. I mean, one way to look at the knowledge base is when you create cases based on the subject and description. When you can look at the log files, you can any errors that you see on screen, you can just paste in the subject. It will pull up all the relevant KB articles, documentation, community, for that related to that error. So knowledge base, this is how it looks. It may be a little different because I logged in as an employee, so I can see more options than you guys. So you can filter based on the product that you are interested in. For example, TIBCO Spotfire, and I'm going to select article. So I'll say, okay, I want to see data source template for AWS Redshift. So I'm going to click on this, and this displays the KB article. So whatever template that is required for you guys to use Redshift. And you can see the article ID, when this was published, who published this KB article. You can see all the key relevant information here. Yeah, you can sort between articles, documentation, community, and cases. These cases is, any cases that you may have submitted earlier, you can see that as a part of the cases. And anybody who, from your organization, if they have submitted a case, they will be displayed here. Another important feature is the downloads. You can click on, if there is a need for you to install the hotfixes for any of the Spotfire environments, you can click on hotfixes. So we used to host our hotfixes earlier on a different portal. It was support.spotfire.com. But after we migrated to the new support portal, all our hotfixes are a part of this portal. So if you click on available downloads, so click on Spotfire, and for example, if you want to download the Spotfire server hotfixes, you can see different versions, and you can click on whatever you need to download. All our hotfixes are cumulative. For example, if I look at hotfix 006 for Spotfire 786 server, the hotfix 006 will contain every patch that is addressed in the previous hotfixes. So from 1 to 5 will be a part of hotfix 006. So you don't need to install individual hotfixes. You can just directly go to the latest one, and that will contain all the fixes that were addressed in the previous releases. When server hotfixes for Spotfire server and all our client web player and automation services hotfixes will be a part of the clients here. If you download a hotfix, this is how it looks like. I'm just taking an example of a server hotfix. So the README text file will let you know what hotfix this is. If you extract this, there is one hotfix contents HTML file, and it will show you what are the issues that are addressed in each of these hotfixes. And another HTML file which has the installation instructions. So you can follow the instructions provided here to install the hotfixes. I mean, same is the case with every other hotfix that we provide with Spotfire. So going back to downloads, so if you click on product downloads, and if you have access to eDelivery, that is, which is our TIBCO download site, it will take you directly to eDelivery to download any of the TIBCO Spotfire installers. Product licenses, we don't enforce product licenses for Spotfire. This is for other TIBCO products. Product documentation will take you to TIBCO documentation site. And perhaps the last but not the least is about support. You can see different, if you're new to the support portal, you can click on getting started. There are quite a few important documents that can help you to understand how the portal works, different features, information about creating a case. If you're going live on a specific day, you can actually let the TIBCO support team know using go live alerts. It'll actually open up a form where you can provide information about the date and specific of your go live operation. So that will kind of alert the Spotfire, the support teams in general. I mean, various other information like response times, product information, support holidays, and contact us. So this is the information where you can find the different methods to contact the support portal. Support team. And these are the region-specific contact numbers we have. I mean, if you create a case, and you want to talk to somebody, you can actually call up the tag team at 650, whatever number you see in here, and they will alert the support engineer who can give you a call. At the same time, another reason why you probably can call tag team is if you see any issues creating cases, if you see any issues logging on the support portal, you can reach out to our tag team and they can help you with any portal specific issues. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I have.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was like very good to know all this information. So can you just make me the presenter now? We start with our regular QA.
Sure.
So feel free to post your questions onto the chat panel and QA panel. We will be a kind of, this time we have taken up some questions from the Stack Overflow. So I will be kind of picking up some questions from Stack Overflow. Yes, thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this was a question which was posted on Stack Overflow, and I've seen this question posted onto TIBCO community also. So create a pyramid in Spotfire, and there was a data given with it, and that's what I have kind of used here. So let me click on the stack. So there was not kind of data provided, but there was kind of information provided, humans, machine, planes, bots, and these are the values, and this is the kind of chart I wanted to create as a pyramid, and something which has been done in Excel. Now what I did was, in this case, is I have used a simple bar chart. So let me show you the table. So what I have done is I created, based on what I could see from that image, I just created the lower level, whatever is the lower level of bots. So kind of roughly 175, upper level is like plus 25 more. So I created this lower and upper level. And then for me, it's just like this is the value. So what I used in this bar chart is, so for example, if I create another bar chart, I picked my data table. So bots, planes, machines. All I did was I kind of changed here, like I want to kind of have appearance as horizontal bars. Now, the only issue here was the problem was like I used color by whatever is the level, and then I got stacked bars. And what happened with the stacked bars was because it's like alphabetic sorting, so upper comes at the top and lower comes here. So what I wanted is I wanted it to be kind of a different color. So I changed in edit column properties, I changed the sort order. So you can see in this case, what I did, I used a custom sort order. I can kind of change the custom sort order and then can kind of configure it. So based on what, say, level, I have used a custom sort order that upper is at the top and lower is here. Otherwise, by default, it would be lower and then upper. So if you see standard sort order, it would be lower and upper. Since I used this, that's why like I changed it to have upper at the top and then lower. So this was one thing which I had to change in this case. And then what I did was I simply used, so if you see this visualization, what I used was I simply used stacked bars with the bottom bar as colorless. So that's the way I can see this one exactly as the pyramid as shown in the Stack Overflow. Again, then I kind of tried with the scatter plot. In case of scatter plot, I will not go into deep dive into the scatter plot, but you can come up with the pyramid plot and scatter plot as well. The thing is, then in that case, my data may be different. I can kind of say this is the lower point and this is the upper point, and then based on each of these names, I can have a line connection. So in this case, what I'm doing is, yes.
Yes, so can you display the legend for the scatter plot and the bar chart, both of them? There's a question to see the color.
Okay. So in the scatter plot, I did line connection, draw a separate line per value in. So let me show you the legend. So it's a data table, color by level. The upper is this one, and the lower is just colorless. The lower exists, but it is just colorless. It's not like it is not there. That's why the appearance is basically like a pyramid, and this is like a simple bar chart. So same thing in the scatter plot. In order to kind of have it again, there is like nothing. It's data table, and it's not any color by which is used here. It's only the property line connection. And for each name, I'm combining those dots. So there is a point for lower, there is a point for upper. They are combined based on each name. In the scatter plot, I just changed the line width and I changed the size so that you don't see the point separate. But if I increase the size, you can see those points are separate. So any other sub-questions on this one? Then I can move on the second question on Stack Overflow.
Go ahead.
So this was another question on Stack Overflow, and this is something which my colleague DJ has already answered on Stack Overflow, but I still wanted to take this one. I have a table named sample in Spotfire and columns like this much, and I need to save as data frame using R script. For that, I am using the below statement, and so the way you pass your data between Spotfire and your R is basically either you are passing a value, either you are passing a table. So when you pass a table, it is a data frame. So what I have here is I have already a data function. So I just created this data function, which is simply the way DJ answered it on the Stack Overflow. It is output as class of input. So whatever I am giving as an input, I want to know the class of that output. And what I did was I just clicked on this input, right click, and matched it to input parameter. In that case, I picked up input parameter as of type table. So you can have a column, you can have a table, you can have a value. But I picked it as a table, and it is taken as a data frame. Now, in order to verify that, what I did was this is class of that output. I picked this and have it as an output parameter, which is of value. So when I execute this script, so I'm not saving this. When I execute this script, I require to specify the parameters. I passed whole of the table. So whole of the table is input, and I'm saving that output in a document property called, so in this case, I can pick up any document property. In this case, I use the customer document property. And this document property kind of saves whatever is coming out from the script. The moment the script is executed, what I did here is I added a label. So what I have here is, if I edit this text area, I have a drop down, I can add a property as a label. And in this case, this customer property, so if you look at this control, it's the customer property. And right now, since the script is executed, it has a value data.frame. So if it was not taken as a data frame, then you would see something else. But this is the way, if there is a property and I want to display the value of that property, I can display it as a label. So this has been kind of already answered also, but I just wanted to show you the steps within Spotfire. Any questions on this one?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so there was another question. Again, my colleague DJ has already answered it there as well. So I have converted my images and stored on HBase as bytes. Now I want Spotfire to read the image from HBase and display it. I understand I can use Phoenix connector to connect to HBase from Spotfire. How can I render images which are stored as bytes in HBase? Now again, going back. So we are not talking about HBase because that's already been figured out. So she's mentioned that Spotfire properties can hold binary values, and these binary values can be stored in document properties. And if a binary document properties is displayed in text area as label, the image is kind of displayed. So going back to my data function, if you look at my data function, and if you kind of, if I look at the parameters, before looking at the parameters, if I look at the script, when I have output parameters, if I modify it, I have this as a value. Now, when I create any document property, so for example, I want to create a document property, I can go to document properties. I can create a document property. I can say new. Now, one of the types is going to be binary. So when my document property is binary, that's where that property can hold images. So in this case, if I have string, it can't hold images. But whenever I have a document property, I can kind of have those images. And then same way, I would be able to kind of have a label, and that's where I would be able to kind of display. So instead of this label where it shows data.frame, if this was a binary property, it would display an image. So I will be able to kind of have images here. So this is like few of the questions which were there on Stack Overflow, which we kind of picked for Dr. Spotfire session. But we still say, yes.
On the same question about images in Spotfire, everyone on your chat, I have sent their graphics guide as part of the documentation. That graphics guide tells you how to create JavaScript visualizations, how to use R graph within R&R to render graphics palettes. And that is basically what happens in R graph. If you look at the properties, or if you go to the help of R graph, you'll be able to see that it sends out the binary if it's requesting an image plot. So definitely go through the document. There's a lot of good research in there, good explanations and examples in there for you to try out.
So my next question is a cross table. Not sure why this is not showing up. So basically it was a vague question, kind of how I can create a multi-paging cross table. So now the point is, whenever you have a data and you are ending up with a cross table where you have to kind of scroll down and see all the values, it would be good to use a data drill down. So DJ had already kind of answered this, that you can use a data drill down, or provide us more like why you want to do that. Now, I selected this question because there is something I wanted to show was in a cross table, you have something called as sorting. So what happens is I'm looking at each store location and I'm looking at multiple stores. I may not be interested in looking at all the stores. I may be interested only looking at the top 5 store numbers. So what I can do is I can kind of based on females, I can sort them, but then I can display only top 5 or maybe top 6 or maybe top 7, whatever I want to show based on females or based on the male kind of values. So whatever value I'm looking at for each gender, I can show only top 5. So that way I'm still able to see my relevant information in cross table, but I don't end up getting a huge table. But another option would be like, okay, I don't want to miss, I want to see each and every store. Another option would be that instead of this, I can create a bar chart, say store location, and this one has a marking. So I can see this is with marking, this marking color. I can make this one as a drill down of that. So limited by that marking, it can select some other marking. And then when I pick Los Angeles, I see only Los Angeles. So this way, I'm still able to see those locations. And this may not be a bar chart. This may be like, let me switch this visualization to a cross table itself. This may be a simple cross table. And I'm picking a Los Angeles, I'm looking at Boston. And in this case, I may take out the sort order. I don't want sort order. And I'm able to see this as, so I can have this as side by side. So I can pick up Los Angeles. I'm still in a cross table where I'm picking Los Angeles and then seeing the detailed drill down. So this could be multi-level detailed drill down. I can pick up each store location here and then see for the customers from that store location, again, maybe in a cross table view or maybe with different parameters. So what I understand from this question, it's possible that somebody wants to look some kind of aggregates at the top store location level. So those aggregates could be here. So not only row count, I could have aggregate of electronics here. So and here also I could have not only kind of a store number, it could be then electronics at each store level. So I'm looking at aggregate here and then I'm picking up maximum and then I'm seeing the next level. Maybe I want to see both of them. So I mark both of them and I see Los Angeles and Boston together by store level. So this could be top level aggregations. This could be then further drill down. And then there could be a next step which could go for further drill down again. So this would be a way. And once again, this sorting where you can show only first number of rows, this sorting can be applied to columns as well. So this would be another way to see only the relevant information in a cross table. Then I have another, so not sure it's because of WebEx or which kind of sometimes I'm not able to see those web links. It takes some time for rendering. So this is another kind of community article where we had a question about document properties. Can I save current updated document property without saving the entire DXP? I need it for user action counter in my DXP. The counter is implemented in R and Iron Python. So you can see what is meant by saving property value. So if you want to save property value only, you can write it to text file using tear data function. If you want to save property value in a DXP, you will have to save the entire DXP. So now going back, there's something I want to kind of point out here is whenever we create properties, say for example, if I insert a text area, whenever we create properties, so if I go to edit and I kind of create some input field, so this is my input field and I want to create a property, I will create a new property like a sample and let's say it's of type numeric and I give it a value 12 and you can see that property kind of would show up here and when I save it, so this is now the value. So if I save this DXP file, this is the value of property. Now what I can do is I can also have a script. So for example, if your use case, I'm not sure whether that's the use case, if your use case is that, okay, whenever the user changes property, somewhere else that value should be stored. It has nothing to do with the DXP. In the DXP, you can continue to have that default property. Like by default, the value of sample is 12. But if as a user ABC, I change it to 14, somewhere in my files, a script should save that for me as 14. But for others, whenever they open that DXP file, the default value should be 12. This is just a kind of imaginary use case I'm thinking about. What we can do is we can, what we can do is we can have a script here. So what we can do is anytime this property is changed, it can be associated with a script. So right now, this property has no action, but you can click execute the script. It could be an IronPython script. It could be a tear script. So any script which kind of saves that property value in a text file or whatever you want to do that could be executed whenever the property value changes. So that would be a way to kind of achieve what you want without even thinking about saving the DXP, because what you want is whenever that property value changes, a script which saves that property in a text file should get executed, or any other location. So that was this question. Then there was another question was about the label. Yes. So I think now the WebEx is working fine. Add a line chart from comments column. So there is this particular data table, and what the user wanted is like, oh, this should show up as shut or whatever comments is. And you can see in that there is no comment other than shut. So what I did was I just kind of quickly created a data table, which is like same values. I just tried to, it's third, I just in Excel, I kind of quickly wanted to create that data table. I tried to have these as values more or less relevant to what it is, but you can see these are different than what are specified here. But what I focused on was this comments. So I kind of picked only one comment here as shut, and everything else is blank. Now, instead of using a line chart, what I'm using here is the scatter plot. So these points are these pressure values over date. So whether in this case it's a cumulative value or it's a pressure value, I'm seeing these pressure points over date here. And what I'm doing is, again, I like to use this line connection. I'm saying order each line by row count. Whatever is the row, just combine them. So in this case, if it is like different kind of oil wells or things like that, you could have one line show up each oil well also. So that would be a way to kind of separate data points. But once I have this line by, all I'm doing is I'm labeling it by the comments. So there could be for each date, each timestamp, there could be multiple values. I'm taking maybe concatenate, maybe first, maybe any other value, the way I want to treat the comments. You want to concatenate them, maybe combine all the comments written for that particular event or that particular time. So based on what your visualization is, you can use any of these aggregations. So I picked up first comment, and then what I'm doing is I'm showing all those for everything. So you can see, I can see that this point here is shut. All other points, there are no comments. So this would be kind of an easy way to kind of see comments on your visualization. And if these values were similar to this, you instead of like this kind of line, you would have seen values up. So it's just same values I have picked quickly. So this would be a way. The another way would be if it is like, if this is just a use case and this is all you want, but if it is more involved, you can always use JavaScript visualizations to generate these kind of visualizations. So maybe we will have a kind of a featured session on that in kind of subsequent Spotfire sessions. Now, moving on to another question, we had a question on forecasting and through email. Again, I would request to provide more details when you are sending us questions on email. The reason we have email is we want you to submit question on community. But if you have data which you don't want to share on community, that's why you would kind of send us an email. So I would again kind of remind you that that would be the way to kind of post your questions. Post your questions on community, they get answered fast. Maybe before they end up in a Dr. Spotfire session, they would be answered already. again, if there is a data associated with it, which you don't want to share, because what I do is we kind of look at that data, we create some kind of dummy data and kind of recreate that question and then share it on Dr. Spotfire. So in this case, I don't know what your previous value is, what the oil daily volume and last oil test date is, so it would need more description the way, but we had a recent article which talks about what is available within Spotfire out of box. So one is a Holt Winters forecasting method. So this article kind of goes in details about how to do Holt Winters forecasting method and how to apply that within Spotfire. But again, there could be TER functions which can be used for forecasting. Again, it depends on how you want to kind of predict and what is your, even it could be a formula which is already predefined, because I think your things are based on just two values. There might be a formula that can be kind of used as a custom expressions to kind of implement forecasting. So there could be multiple ways to achieve. Again, inserting columns from database, link, merge them into one table. Again, it depends on which databases we are talking, what kind of visualizations we want after inserting, or what kind of data calculations we want to do. But usually if it is from a CSV file or from a database, I usually recommend load data from database, load data from a CSV file, have those both tables within Spotfire, and then whether you want to insert columns, whether you want to merge, whether you want to keep them separate, then kind of do that process. But load always. So if I have my data panel, it should be something like this, where I can see that there's a test data coming from one source, there's another data coming from one source, and after they are here, then those are combined by insert columns or something like that. But usually I always recommend, but again, it depends on what you are trying to do, that you always keep those sources separate and then create a third which combines those sources in a way you want. So that gives a flexibility. So what if this was not the way you wanted to combine? After looking at the visualization, you want to change. Your original sources are still intact. You are creating a fourth source which may merge it in a different way. Now again, remove duplicate values for certain condition without ranking. Now, in order to understand this, I would kind of simply show a visualization which I use to understand whether there are duplicates. So in this case, I see customer ID. My total values are 754. If I create a bar chart, so if I switch this visualization to a bar chart, and I just look at my so let me remove this row count, and I just show this as whatever the values are, so I can see 754. So there are 754, and my customer IDs are 754. So if I say, oh, this is row count of customer ID, I see, oh, there are no duplicates in this case. But when I see store location, I can see, or store number, I see 84. That means there are multiple stored locations. Now, whatever is the condition, like if the condition is, oh, you want to delete, so first you need to identify. So any visualization can help you show that condition, identify those, and then you can pick, oh, based on this condition, do I want to concatenate? Do I want to take max of those values? So sometimes I have like, based on each customer has like 5 values, and I just want to pick max of those, or I want to take average of those. So those transformations can help you remove the duplicates. It could be simply like you identify those duplicates, mark those, right-click and delete. So that would be the most easiest way. Like I mark those, I right-click, and I delete those. So if I find out that this is a duplicate, I right-click and I say mark rows delete. That would be a way to kind of delete your duplicates. But again, it depends on what is your condition, how do you identify what is called duplicate. Then raising alarm in plots with certain conditions. So what we have is...
let's take that question the next session. Let's do on alerting. Let's leave that for next session to have a detailed overview on.
Yeah, we will have a detailed overview on this automation services in our subsequent. We will definitely have a featured session about this. but this is what I just wanted to show you at the end, that you have the options where you can kind of export, you can, based on your threshold values, you can trigger an alerting task. We would go in details about how to do it or what are the different options, but this would be an area if you want to kind of find out more that if you want to trigger an alert condition. So this was the last piece. Again, for this email, I will definitely recommend providing more details and having one question at a time so that we can take them as separate. Any questions on the chat?
I have sent a bunch of resources on chat for you to look at. They pertain to extending Spotfire for automation services and having Iron Python to automate things and scripts. I have also sent alerting extension link, and please post your questions on community with hashtag #DrSpotfire. You can email us your question after you post it on community, or if you have sensitive data that you only want to send over email and don't want to put it on community. But as you can see, a lot of questions today depended on us recreating the data. So if you can make that step easier for us, we'll be able to take up more questions. We look forward to all feedback, comments, and suggestions from you on our email address, drspotfire@tibco.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.